What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, and today I want to talk to you guys about the new PlayStation controller, the Astro C40 TR. Now, PlayStation has been dominating the news today with news of this controller quickly fading in the background to the fact that PlayStation may not be participating at E3 2019. I'll talk about that a little later in the week, but as you guys know how much I love my Pro controllers, I thought it'd be a cool idea to go through the features of this controller because it really did get passed over in the news, and I think it's one that is actually really good. Now, if you haven't seen a video I did in the past talking about last generation's PlayStation 4 Pro controllers, there's going to be a pop-up there. You can check that link out. But today we're talking about the Astro branded stuff. Now, I am a big fan of Astro. They are most notably known for their headsets. Most of the pro gamers use the Astro headsets with the dedicated mix amp to control the game volume versus the chat volume, and they're really nice. They make really nice stuff. So when I saw that Astro was actually going to be dabbling into the pro controller market, I was pretty excited. And here you guys have it. Now, this thing has a lot of interesting features in it, and I'm going to show you some pictures as we kind of go through it here. The first thing I want you to notice is that it is very customizable. So PlayStation controllers have the linear analog sticks where they are parallel down at the bottom of the controller, whereas an Xbox controller, they are offset. This controller will allow you to move those around, and you can see here in the picture that there is a faceplate that you can pull off, and you can replace the location of the D-pad versus the analog stick on the left side. And there are different grips, very similar to what the Xbox One Elite controller did. And you can see that here and here a little bit, and there's a little better picture of it. But let's go ahead and open this up first. I don't know why the PlayStation blog is obsessed with using Flickr. I think they're the only website that still uses it. It's very bizarre to me, but let's go ahead and blow this up a little bit so you can see it. It comes with all the standard features of a regular PlayStation controller. You know, you have your face buttons, you have your touchpad, your PlayStation button, your share button, all that sort of thing. This is a pretty standard view. The thing that I wanted to show here is that it is a slightly different form factor. The parts that you hold down at the palm of your hands when you're holding the controller here are a little bit fatter than the standard PlayStation DualShock 4 controller. I think that's going to give it a little better grip. That's something that I really like about the Xbox controller, is that those not the paddles, but the grip part they're a little thicker, they're a little wider, and they fit in your hand a little bit better. So if you're somebody who has an issue or has smaller hands, maybe that's something you're not going to be interested in. But I think most people are going to find that to be a little bit more comfortable. Now, on the back is where it gets a little bit more interesting. You'll notice that there's a wired and a wireless switch here. Now, what they've opted for is the option to use a wired or a wireless mode. Most of the professionals and most people who are really into that esports scene like the wired controller because it has very limited latency. There's no chance of interfering with another controller. So you can have that wired mode. You just plug a cable in and it's business as usual. But if you're at home and you're playing and you prefer that comfort over that cutting edge precision, you want to sit a little farther away from your big screen TV and kick your feet up, you can flip the switch and go to a wireless mode. Now, they said that there is a little attachment that goes on there, and I don't know how big that is, but it's going to sit on the back of the controller, and that's what's going to allow it to be wired or wireless, which I think is a really nice feature. That's not anything revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination. The stock DualShock 4 controller does that already. The stock Xbox One controller does that already. Most controllers do that, but those last generation of those PlayStation controllers, recall that they did not. They either had a wired or a wireless mode. That was it. You could not swap freely. So I think Astro got it right by playing it simple. In addition, there's a profile switch, so you can toggle between two different settings. This was first seen on the Xbox One Elite controller. It's a nice feature here. I have two different settings, one for more racing and adventure type games, and one that's a little more twitchy for first-person shooter games. I suspect that is the two settings most people will use, but you have the option to toggle between the two. If you have multiple people using this controller, or a family member or something like that, you could each have your own profile. It's a nice thing to have. You'll notice that they also have what they're calling the trigger stops. We know those as the hair triggers. Basically, it allows you to tap the R2 and L2 trigger faster. It doesn't fully depress, it hits an actuator and it shoots faster. So the pull from, let's say, here to here, as opposed to, say, here to here when the hair stop is engaged, allows you to shoot a lot faster. So that's nice. And from what I can tell, it looks to be a toggle. It doesn't look like it's just simply an on-off switch. And that's very important because some games like Destiny have a little bit stronger pull than other games. And I have had games on my Xbox One Elite controller where I have the hair stop trigger engaged and I pull the trigger, but it's not enough to make the gun actually fire. So your character kind of starts to pull the trigger and then lets his finger off, which is kind of a disadvantage. So it looks to be that you can do a little precision tuning there, and I think that is a great feature. You'll also notice that there are two buttons on the back. These are your paddle buttons. These would replace two front-facing buttons. Now, my beloved Xbox Elite controller has a dedicated button for all four face buttons. Here, they've only opted to go for two, but you'll notice that there are a program and reset buttons, so you can toggle to make those whatever you want. Most people make those like a jump and a reload, for example. You could do a melee button if you want to do something in first-person shooter. It's just whatever buttons that you're going to be pressing most. And obviously the advantage there is that you never have to take your thumb off the right trigger, or the right analog stick rather. So you're always allowed to aim. You're allowed to use your ring fingers or your pinkies or your middle fingers, depending on how you're holding the controller, to hit those two buttons there instead of hitting the face button. So that's a nice feature. I would have liked to see all four buttons be mapped there, but you're only allowed to pick two, and that's okay. There's also a performance software that comes with it. Here we can take a quick look at that, and what that includes. Oh, is that a tiny picture? Because Flickr is goofy and doesn't let me magnify without. I don't get this. Let's see, what do we have here? Looks like very similar to what I saw on the Xbox controller, with trigger settings there, depending on how much you want the pull, how you want the accelerometer to be in each of the thumbstick, sensitivity, that sort of thing. So if you're familiar with what the Xbox One Elite controller is, it looks like they've copied a lot of that here, and you sync this to your controller. My guess is that this is a software you put on your PC. I'm quickly reading the notes here. It doesn't say, but I'm pretty sure this is something you put on your PC and then you probably flash the controller to allow you to have that feature. The nice thing about the Xbox controller was it has a built-in app inside the actual Xbox One, which you're able to open and calibrate right there. This, it looks like you might have to have a middle piece of firmware in between. I can tell that now, actually, as I'm looking at it. It's very clearly displayed on a PC monitor. You can actually see the stand here. So a little clever trick there. That's something you're not going to be able to do on your PlayStation 4 or your PlayStation 4 Pro, but that's okay. And anything else I'm missing here? It looks like it has a rechargeable battery, as far as I can tell. It says it's got a 12-hour battery life. It includes a travel case. There are a bunch of different sticks here, so you can toggle between high or low. I suspect that they will sell, or do sell, more like performance type sticks, maybe aftermarket in addition to that, where you can pick convex or a concave, or short and fat sticks to kind of emulate like a steering wheel. I've seen aftermarket Xbox One Elite controller thumbsticks do that, so I wouldn't be surprised to see if Astro did that. Theirs looks like that wireless module I was talking about, so I guess you just plug that into your PlayStation. So I was incorrect. I don't think you're actually plugging anything into the controller, which is nice. I was under the impression earlier there was some sort of dongle that plugged into the back of the controller. That's not the case. It looks like you just plug this small USB key into the front of your PlayStation, sync the two up, and you're able to play wirelessly. Now, the one thing that they don't talk about here, and I read through the notes earlier, I'm looking through again very briefly just to make sure, I don't see anything in there about the motors. A lot of pros do not like the rumble feature. I don't know why. I guess they feel it's distracting, or it's not authentic to what they feel is a true experience. I'm not entirely sure if the motors are in this controller or if they are adjustable through that software. On the Xbox One Elite controller, you can turn the motors up to a very, very high sensitivity that will almost make your hands itch. because it's vibrating so hard, or you can turn them completely off. Some of the older PlayStation Pro controllers, those Gen 1s that I was talking about, they had the option to completely remove the motor if you wanted a lighter feel. Doesn't seem like Astro took that route here, but they don't talk about it at all, which is something that I feel might be slightly intimidating to others, but there might be other videos out there to kind of let you gauge if that's something you are interested in or not. Lastly, the price, it comes in at $199.99 US, and it's going to ship in early 2019 with availability anywhere: GameStop, Amazon, Best Buy. Any major distributor is going to have this thing. This isn't exclusive to one console or another. You can use it for your PlayStation 4, or you can use it for your Windows PC, which is really, really nice. So I actually recommend this. I mean, based on what I've seen, this actually looks like a pretty nice stick. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see until the reviews come out before we can really put our stake in there. This is something that probably will not sell out, so I don't think you're gonna have to rush out and pre-order. It doesn't seem like there's any incentive to rush out and get this immediately. Again, it's not coming until 2019, so let the pros dive into it first and let you know. The only drawback, as I said earlier, was I don't know why they didn't include all 4 face buttons on the back. They only opted for 2, but everything else looks really good, and everything I know about Astro and everything I've used personally with Astro indicates to me that this is going to be an amazing, amazing controller. And the nice thing is it has that longevity. It's not just exclusively for the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 4 Pro, but you can also take it over to your Windows-based PC and continue using it there, because we know that PlayStation has a really bad habit of legacy hardware, and typically the hardware that comes for one particular console does not carry over to the next. So let me know in the comments below if this is something you are interested in. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.